Okay, what's going on, everybody? Swinging Bull here. PB alerts. Give it a few minutes for people to jump into the stream here. We got Dell reporting earnings and Hewlett Packard reporting earnings. So, two computer companies. Let's give it a few more moments for more people to jump in. Okay, the regular session closing bell just rang. So, regular session's over. What a day. What's up, Paul C, over here in the Discord? Got quite a few people jumping in on the socials now. Good to see everyone. Hello, Anrod. Hope everything's going well with you. And you want a restaurant. I hope everything's going well with the restaurant, my friend. Okay. Wow. All right, so we got Dell reporting earnings, and we got Hewlett Packard reporting earnings. Let's just kind of go over these real quick. I believe both of them are reporting at the same time, which is at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So let's take a look at Dell first. November 25th, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, when the data is supposed to drop. The forecast EPS, $2.48. Forecast revenue, $27.15 billion. They're anchored VWAP right around 140 a share, so they're trading a bit below that today. Let's quick look at the annual chart here. And the other company, Hewlett Packard, again, they report today, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Forecast EPS, 91 cents. Forecast revenue, $15.02 billion. So obviously billion-dollar companies here. And we'll see what the stock price reactions are to the earnings data. And then I'll give everyone a sneak peek at a NVIDIA trade that I opened up this afternoon. And we'll go over that towards the end of the stream. But let's go back to Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard's anchored VWAP right around, I'd probably call that like 26 a share, 27 maybe. They're trading below their anchored VWAP. Let's go to TradingView. And it's 4:02 p.m. So we've got about 3 more minutes. We should get the reaction on both of these at the same time. Let's get Dell's daily chart and look at some levels where some levels of interest on the bigger time frame. I'm going to pop on the volume profile. And this is the daily chart. Clear support on Dell right around maybe like 116, 117 a share, right around there. So if there's a negative reaction, that's probably where I'd be looking for a bounce. You can kind of zoom out here a little bit. This is price action for basically all of 2025. You can see from the volume profile, it's a lot of volume has come in. I guess I'd probably call this a little bit of a range, maybe like 110 to 115. That's probably what I would call it. So I'd be looking at 115 first, possibly 110 as S2. So if Dell does get a negative reaction, that's where I'd be looking for a bounce. As far as a positive reaction, probably just going to go off my 21 EMA. Probably look for resistance around 135 and some change. So I'd be like $10 above where it closed the regular session today. So that'd be my resistance one. Probably go ahead and put a horizontal line there just so it's on the screen on the smaller time frames. And again, support one, I'm just going to put it right here, right around 116.50. So that's kind of the range I got as far as levels I'm looking at based on price action and volume. That's mainly how I trade. So let's go back intraday. It's 4:04 p.m. Eastern. So the 5-minute chart. Should get the data here in about 45 seconds. I'm going to turn the volume profile off because I don't need it anymore right now. And let's look at Hewlett Packard. See if we can plot some levels out on the bigger time frames and some levels of interest. Hewlett Packard closed the regular session at $24.33. And let me just look at the VP on this real quick. Okay, Dell's getting a reaction already. About 16 seconds before the data is technically supposed to drop. But resistance on HP, my R1 is going to be right around here. Could be some resistance. It's only a few dollars above where it closed the regular session at. Right around like 26.50. I'd probably be looking, be a nice level to keep in mind. Clear support down here around 22 and some change. I'm going to plot that line out there. Now we got our little range on HP here, depending on positive or negative reaction. Those are just the levels I'd be looking at. Negative reaction, be looking for a bounce in the low 20s. Positive reaction, right around 26.50 could be a good level to maybe take some profit, or just know there could be some sellers up there waiting. So go back intraday on Hewlett Packard. Dell getting a positive reaction. They're up over 5%. Take this volume profile off Hewlett Packard. Initial reaction was positive. It's kind of coming back down a little bit right now. We go 1 minute chart. Okay, got a little bit of indecision. Nonetheless, it's up 4%, almost 5%. So Dell's data should be out. Let me check my other screen. Get EPS revenue, any guidance, anything like that. Got almost 200 people tuning in. Good to see everybody. Okay, let's just look at a bird's eye view from Dell. Got a nice little graphic here from the earnings correspondent. So forecast EPS was 2.48. They reported 2.59. So they did beat EPS. Revenue expectation was 27.2 billion. They reported 27 billion. So they did miss on revenue. So that's a little bit of a red flag there. Year over year numbers got solid growth though, double-digit growth for year over year. EPS up 20% year over year, revenue up 11% year over year. EPS was up 12% quarter over quarter. Revenue was down quarter over quarter. A little bit of a short-term looking view there. So we'll see. They beat EPS, but they missed revenue. Let me see what else I can find on this. I may just go on over to the investor relations page. But let me see if I can find anything else before I do that. So I'm going to post these results. This is the Q3 results for Dell. I'll post this on my screen. There we go, right there. So they beat revenue but missed EPS. Okay. And again, the EPS year over year and quarter over quarter was nice and green. The revenue year over year was green, but quarter over quarter negative. So I don't know, it's like a shorter term kind of negative thing there. But they did show solid EPS strength. But the revenue softness does stand out. So kind of a mixed quarter overall. I mean, I don't see really anything fantastical about their earnings. It's not like they smashed and crushed it. Kind of a mixed earnings release, to be honest with you. Like I say, a little bit of red flags with the quarter over quarter revenue. And they did miss revenue forecasts. So there are some negative things there. Initial positive reaction up to 134 a share. And now it's come all the way back down from before the reaction started. So basically trading just above where it closed at, just by like $1 and some change per share. Up about 1% right now. Let's find out when their earnings web call is. I know everyone's interested in that. We'll find out what time it is and how to get there. And I'll, of course, post the link for everyone for that. But yeah, again, just another quick summary for Dell. Kind of mixed earnings results. A little bit of softness with the revenue, but they did beat EPS. So kind of a little balancing act there. So far, I mean, I don't think investors are taking it negatively. Of course, we'd see the price in the red right now if that was the case. So a little bit of mix, initial positive reaction, then came back down. Now it's back to green, up 2% in after hours, about $2.50 a share, about $3 a share. So let me find out when their web call is, because that's the important part where the upper management will take a deeper dive into the guidance and the earnings results. Let me go to their investor relations page, and then we'll jump over to Hewlett Packard and see what's up with them, because they're red in after hours right now. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. Again, support on Hewlett Packard. I was looking around the low 20s, around $22 a share. That's where I'd be looking for a bounce if and when it gets there. But go back 5-minute chart. Actually, I'll go 1 minute on this. I'm going to draw some levels on Dell real quick while I'm waiting for this other screen to load up here. I think what I'll do, draw it from top to bottom here. Okay, as you can see, these lining up pretty well. So positive reaction, retraced all the way. Now it's trying to head back up. So 129 a share. I think that's an important level. Needs to break that to reclaim 50% of this reversal, if you will. That's at 130 a share. Kind of clean levels, resistance levels for post-market price action on Dell. I'm going to call it 129, 130, and 131. It's a must that those get reclaimed. Maybe has a chance of coming back up to after hours high, but it's got some work to do, that's for sure. Support levels, I'm just going to line it up with the fib here at 128. And then, of course, after hours, after hours low, actually, I could probably move this down just a little bit. After hours low, right around 126 a share. So 128 and 126 for support levels. Looks like there's a little bit of buying coming in right now. It's testing 130 right now. We'll see if that can pop through. A little over 250 people in the stream now. Good to see everyone. And okay, I got investor relations for Dell pulled up. Let's see what we got. Again, kind of mixed, but it is positive. So it's good for the bulls. It's not selling off. It's also not really catching a bid either, but it is green a little bit. Let's look at Dell's website here. Let's take a look. Okay. So let's see. Dell, I'm going to go to press releases. And here we go here. So we got the third quarter earnings. No, I don't want to complete a survey, so X out of that. If you want a deeper dive into Dell's earnings, I'm gonna post this link here. Yeah, this is fine. Post it in the comments here, and this will get you to their investor relations page. And I'll post it in the Discord as well for my Discord peeps. And you can click right here, this little PDF document. See how many pages. Okay, it's a 9-page PDF document. And this will give you the summary and all the highlights and the breakdown of the earnings, revenue, operating income, net income, commercial client revenue, consumer revenue, operating income. And they also put out the guidance. So it looks like the guidance is pretty good. The guidance is up 17% year over year at the midpoint of 111.7 billion. So guidance up a little bit. Full year AI server shipments expected to be roughly 25 billion. That's up 150%. Wow. So even though they missed revenue and the quarter over quarter revenue numbers didn't look too good, it looks like they're predicting a pretty good 2026. So that's pretty good, and I think that's why it's had that initial positive reaction, came all the way back down, retraced 100%, but now there's buyers stepping back up. So as investors are digging deeper into this earnings data, it does look like there's some buying going on right now. Let me move this over so we can still see the candles over here on the left. So next I want to see, so anyways, if you go to that link on the bottom of my screen, you get this 9-page PDF document for Dell's earnings, and it's got everything you need, you want to know right here, okay? Again, earnings a little bit mixed. It wasn't like a fantastical beat by any means, but nonetheless, it wasn't really negative either, was it? So let me go to upcoming events and find out when their web call is. Okay, 3:30 p.m. Central Time. That is when their earnings web call is. Okay, and also let me just click on this real quick. So 3:30 p.m. Central Time, which is 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So their earnings web call starts in 15 minutes. All right. And when you get there, you see this link here. It says click here for webcast. So that's what you're going to click on. Overall, let's just take a look at Dell real quick on Webull. Look at HP selling off here. Remember the low 20s I was talking about? Look, it came all the way down to 22.50. That was the bigger time frame on the time. That was the level on the bigger time frame chart that we were looking at earlier, right here, 22 and some change. Kind of looks like where it just bounced just now. Bounced around 22.50. There's my white line right there from the daily chart. So I was kind of lining up pretty good, but we're going to go over their data here in a minute. But let me finish up with Dell. So yeah, again, their earnings web call at 4:30 p.m. Eastern starts in about 15 minutes. They beat EPS. Their year over year and quarter over quarter numbers for EPS were solid. The revenue is what investors are seeing softness in right now. They missed revenue forecasts. The quarter over quarter revenue was down. The year over year revenue was green, but a little bit of short term uncertainty with their revenue. I guess it's not uncertain now that we know the data. So a little short term issue with a shorter term view with their revenue. That's the red flag that I see right now. And again, I don't think it's too big of a deal because, again, it's not like they're selling off right now, but there is a lot of indecision going on with the price action. But Dell is green in after hours by about 1%. A little bit of selling coming in right now. But be careful with this one because the earnings results were mixed. So there's just going to be a little uncertainty until 4:30 p.m. when the upper management has an opportunity to explain in a little more detail what the earnings results were, and maybe they talk about the guidance for next year a little bit. And who knows, maybe it gets a secondary move at 4:30 when the upper management starts talking about that stuff. So we know what's going on with Dell. We know when their earnings web call is, and we know how to get there. So now let's look at Hewlett Packard. They are red. They're down almost 6% right now. They closed the regular session at $24.32. They're sitting down here at 22.90. Oh, 22.90 according to TradingView. Looking at support around 22 and some change. That's my support on Hewlett Packard. Look at Dell, just made an after hours low. So yeah, I really think the issues they're having with the revenue, not being able to beat the revenue forecast, that's definitely being looked at negatively by investors, of course. Getting a red candle print right now. So we'll see if it decides to bottom out on the daily chart. Let me get rid of this fib here. It just made a new after hours low. But on the daily chart, I'm looking right around 115, 116 a share. That's where I would like to see support hold if it does end up having a negative reaction. But look at these 5-minute candles. This is just a lot of indecision right now. Right now, the sellers are kind of winning the battle. And like I say, just made a new after hours low, 124.60, around there. So let's look at Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard, their earnings don't look too bad. I'm almost wondering if they messed with the guidance in a negative way, because Hewlett Packard double beat, but you could call it a double beat. My opinion, it probably more came in line, but the forecast EPS for Hewlett Packard was 0.92. They just reported 0.93. So sure, I guess you can call that a beat. I mean, technically it is a beat. More or less, I think it's in line. Same thing with revenue. 14.49 billion was the forecast. They reported 14.6, beat by 1%. But like I say, more or less in line, but technically you can say they double beat, okay? EPS unchanged year over year. maybe the investors aren't liking that, because we definitely want to see EPS growth year over year. They're having trouble with that. It's basically unchanged. So no growth on the EPS year over year. So even though a lot of these things are green here, as far as them beating the forecasts, and quarter over quarters is green, so I guess they're trending in the right direction, I suppose. But the year over year EPS being unchanged, that I would look at that probably negatively, because there's just no growth there. We want to see year over year growth is important, and there's just no EPS growth with Hewlett Packard. So I'm thinking that probably has a bit to do with why they're kind of getting a negative reaction right now. Let me see what else I can find on Hewlett Packard, and it's already 4:20. So towards the end of the stream, I want to go over a new spread trade I opened up this afternoon on NVIDIA. Got a nice chance of profit. And when I entered the trade, it was paying about 25% return on capital. And it expires next Friday, December 5th. So I think it's a solid trade on NVIDIA, especially with recent news that broke about them being able to finally sell chips to China again, because that obviously was an issue for them. It's looking like it's heading in the direction where they're going to be able to continue selling chips to China. So kind of contingent as far as price action goes on that getting approved. But we're kind of open this trade to kind of ride the heels of that news breaking, and actually rebounded really nice today. I'll show everyone on the intraday chart here in a minute. But let's go back to Hewlett Packard, because we'll want to find out when they're going to do their earnings, when web call, and of course how to get there and all that stuff. So give me 1 second. I'll just refresh this screen. All right, and I'm going to post this here. So Hewlett Packard did have a double beat, just barely. However, no year over year growth on the EPS, which definitely could be looked at negatively by investors. But Michael Anthony said, how bad were the earnings? If you're referring to Dell, it was mixed. Just a quick summary for those just joining. They beat EPS expectations, but they missed revenue expectations. And they have some issues with the quarter over quarter growth with revenue. So to be honest with you, Dell's earnings were mixed. It wasn't, I don't think it was like terribly bad, but it also wasn't really good either. So kind of, it's just mixed. It's investors are having, there's obviously a little uncertainty. Initial reaction popped it up to 134, then it retraced that whole move. Then it looked like it was retracing back up, and then it went on to make an after hours low. They're trying to form a bottom here around 124 and some change. Again, Dell's earnings web call starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, which is in about 7 minutes. This is from my friend Michael Anthony on YouTube. I'm guessing you were talking about Dell, maybe. So it's just a little recap on Dell. HP, what they're dealing with is the year over year EPS growth is just not there. There's no growth there. I don't think investors are liking that at all. So, overall, I think Hewlett Packard had okay earnings. Again, they did double beat, but that it's just sticking up. It's kind of popping out the page like it's sore thumb. Is just no EPS growth year over year. I don't think that's sitting well with investors at all. Okay. And a lot of the sources are neglecting the fact to mention no EPS year over year growth. Everyone's saying great earnings, revenue has year over year growth, but they keep diverting to the quarter over quarter EPS growth, which quarter over quarter, there was a little growth there. But the year over year, there was unchanged. So there's no year over year growth on the EPS. And it's funny, I'm seeing all this data dropping, and they're failing to mention the no year over year growth. So, it is what it is. Michael said you had your computer on mute. Yeah, I was just kind of recapping Dell. Is their earnings were mixed. they missed, number one, they missed revenue expectations. They did beat EPS, but they missed revenue expectations, and their what was it? The quarter over quarter for revenue was also red. So little short-term softness on revenue for Dell if you're looking at the quarter over quarter. And let me just go back here for a second. So that's the red flag. I saw the two red flags. Number one, they missed a revenue forecast. Let's start there. And number two, there is softness on the revenue comparing the data to last quarter. So that's a little quick summary on Dell. And basically the earnings are mixed because they did a good job beating EPS, and there is double-digit EPS growth year over year, quarter over quarter. But the revenue, I just think the revenue is probably a little more important than the EPS for a company like Dell. So that's kind of the little bit of red flags I'm seeing with Dell. And again, their earnings web call starts in 5 minutes, and I'm going to put the link on the bottom of my screen on how to get there. Give me 1 second here. And let me just go to upcoming events. Here we go. Okay. And it starts in about 4 more minutes. So let me post that. Scroll back down. All right, that's the link that'll get you to the Dell earnings web call. Starts in 4 minutes. Okay, mixed earnings data. That's why the price action is pretty sloppy. It's kind of selling off a little bit now right there. Again, issues with revenue. That's their problem right now. And that's why investors are probably taking this a little negatively. Okay, it's not like it's getting hammered. I mean, it's just trading right below where it closed the regular session. Closed the regular session 125.92. It's trading at 124 and some change. So it's not like they're getting smashed in a bad way right now. It's just a little bit of negativity on the revenue side. So I hope that, we got almost 400 people tuning in, but that kind of sums up what's going on with Dell right now. Okay. And again, HP, the negative I see there is they have no EPS growth year over year whatsoever. And if I was a long-term holder of Hewlett Packard, that probably concerned me a little bit. That's kind of what we're seeing in the price action right now. All right. Overall, I don't think it's terrible, but just not the growth that I think investors wanted to see. All right. So let's find out how to get to Hewlett Packard's. Now, Hewlett Packard did announce they increased their quarterly dividend by 3.6%. So I guess there's a little silver lining there for my dividend investors. And they pay a quarterly dividend. Okay. All right. Interesting. A lot of put buying going on Hewlett Packard right before the close. Someone knew something. And also with Hewlett Packard, another red flag outside of the no EPS growth year over year, which is kind of concerning. I do want to note that their 2026 EPS guidance was down. Okay, they lowered it. That's a big red flag for investors. Of course, we're forward looking when it comes to the markets. If you adjust the guidance downwards or mess with the guidance negatively, that's going to spook investors. There's going to be some selling. There's got, especially if an investor already had profit on the table, they're going to be taking profit, and that's going to contribute to the selling. So the guidance kind of trails consensus a little bit. And they're also noting that was the guidance being lowered due to 4,000 to 6,000 job cuts. Just a little bit of information there for everybody. All right. And yeah, the 2026 EPS guidance was adjusted down quite a bit. The estimate was 3.32. This is for Hewlett Packard. And they changed it on the low end. It's 2.90. So kind of a big hit on the guidance for 2026 for EPS. So I think that probably has a lot more to do with the selling on Hewlett Packard right now compared to having no EPS growth year over year. So I hope that all kind of paints a picture for everybody. And let me look at, let's look at when HP is going to do their call. It's probably 4:30 or 5. Dell's earnings call is going down in like 1 minute. Michael says, you worried about certain tech that you heard so many beat that lower the outlook then announced layoffs saying consumers are cutting back. Yeah, and that's something definitely to keep in the back of your head. And that's also, if you think about, AI, and of course, AI, it's great for growth for tech companies, of course. So everyone's kind of super focused on that, on how much money these companies are making with AI and stuff like that. But Michael on YouTube, what's the flip side of that? Well, AI is going to be taking over jobs. So what's that do in turn? Now we're going to have a labor market issue, right? And if we have a labor market issue, consumers aren't going to spend as much. So there's always a flip side to every coin. So yeah, AI is great for these companies and they're making all this record revenue. But on the flip side, I bet my bottom dollar, especially next year, we've already seen some of it this year, we're going to have a labor market issue, which in turn is going to affect consumer spending because people are going to be losing their jobs. So you got to remember both sides of the coin, and maybe that can help people make a more educated guess on, what they should be doing with their portfolio, with their allocation. Should they be scaling back? Should they be putting a hedge in place? Different things we can do to manage positions, to protect existing profit, or just merely protecting the downside in case some of this thing backfires. And what's been in the news, AI companies are overvalued and could be a bubble and stuff like that. If you're concerned about there being an AI bubble and a correction in the tech space, you need to start hedging. Not financial advice, but that's what I would do. I've been hedging, so just some words of encouragement, and not financial advice, but more of my opinion, what I would be doing with my positions. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of water. So anyways, just something to keep in the back of your mind, nobody knows the future. And if they say they do, they're blowing smoke, and run from those people. I'm the type of trader, especially with my streams, I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't beat around the bush. I say it like it is and how I see things. And it's all about protecting your capital. Once you can get really good at not losing money, the winners are going to naturally come. Okay. So anyways, let me just figure out when HP is going to do their web call. And then, yeah, absolutely. Michael, we can take a little dive into DLO and see what's up with them. Let me find out when HP's call is going to be, though, because I know probably some investors want to know that. Dell's earnings web call is going on right now. It started 3 minutes ago, and there's already some buying coming in. So I don't know if I'm not going to personally stream that, but maybe the upper management is giving some warm and fuzzies to the investors and maybe talking about guidance in a positive way or something. But there is some buying going on Dell right now after hitting an after hours low of, looks like 123.75, right around there. But that's a good sign for the Dell bulls. There's some buying going on right now as the investors web call just started a few minutes ago. So keep your eye on for a continuation. This could be a secondary move because of the call, the earnings web call. Let's look at HP. I want to find out when their call is. Okay, give me 1 sec here. So yeah, right here on the home page, this is the link. I'm gonna put it in the comments. If anyone wants to take a deeper dive into HP's earnings, I'll put the link in the Discord as well. There we go. So if you want to take a deeper dive, you can just click on this press release right here. And okay, this is a pretty hefty report here. It's 21-page earnings report. Okay, so you can take a deeper dive. We kind of already went over what's going on with HP. They reduced their forward guidance on the EPS front by quite a bit, and investors are taking that negatively. So if you want a deeper dive in HP earnings, go to the link on the bottom of my screen. Let me post that. There we go. And you can get this 21-page PDF document. You can deep dive into that on your own time if you want. Now, when are they going to do their earnings web call? Here we go. 2 p.m. Pacific time, right here. This is the Q4 2025 HP earnings conference call. Starts at 2 p.m. Pacific time, which of course is 5 p.m. Eastern. So they're going to do their earnings web call in 25 minutes. All right. So let me go over this request from Michael Anthony. I did want to save some time because I want to go over this NVIDIA trade I opened up today. I'm sure everyone's kind of interested in that. But let me just flip over to let's see. And look, HP came down to 2250. That's right where the bigger time frame level we were looking at. But let's look at you said DLO. Let's take a look. Okay. All right. Did they have earnings today or something? Let me see. Just go to earnings whispers. We don't need this anymore. This. And no, I don't really see them having earnings today. Let me see when they do, though. Maybe they just had them. D-Local. Yeah, I remember they just recently had theirs. I remember going over this one. Their next earnings isn't until February 11th. But that's okay. Let's take a look at, so yeah, it looks like, yeah, November 12th, right here. That's their last earnings, and they did miss expectations. We can actually just go right here to tip rank. So I'll get the data for the earnings real quick here. Where's it at? Tip rank. Oh, it's right here on my toolbar. Okay. And they got negative EPS here. Yeah, they have a tough time with revenue as well. But you can see right here they missed EPS by 100%. Forecast was negative 0.04. That was October 30th, by the way, which looks like the. Oh no, wait, this isn't even D-Low. Hold on, sorry about that. Forgot to type the ticker, and I was like, wait a minute, this don't look right. Here's D-Low. Okay, D-Low, right here. I ran out of. That's okay. We'll look at it later. Let's. I get way too many pop-ups on these. I'm just gonna have to close all these out. Let me just go to the chart and we'll look at it. All right. So I can get key statistics and find everything out that we need. So yeah, here's their earnings. Their earnings was on November 12th. Okay, that's what we thought. And it looks like they kind of had a positive reaction on the day they had earnings. I think this is the one that was running going into the earnings, and then they ended up gapping down the next day. So very interesting. So D-Local, professional and commercial services. Just keep in mind, this is not a local company. No, this is not a domestic company. They're located in Uruguay. There is always a little bit of added risk with a company that's not local to our exchanges. So basically anything out of the US. I do trade Canadian companies sometimes, stuff like that. But any company that's not located in the US where our exchanges are located, there's always going to be some added risk there. So I just want to point that out. Be careful with these international companies. But they're based out of Uruguay. And global merchants to connect with emerging market users. Company offers payment platform for emerging markets. So what are they, kind of like fintech, right? Industry says professional and commercial services, but it looks like they dabble in fintech a little bit, payment platforms and what have you. Company's direct application programming interface, API, one technology platform and one contract, which is collectively referred as the one D-Local model. Company enables global enterprise merchants to get paid and to make payments online in a safe and efficient manner. Yeah, so it's kind of like fintech. EPS, trailing 12 months, nice and positive. We can cross-check that with their peers and competitors, kind of find out where they fall on the PE range. EPS is positive, 93 million float. Let's look at the income statement. Okay, they do have positive net income. and kind of trending up as well. So they are a profitable company. 5 quarters in a row. Let's look at annual basis. Yeah, they've been profitable 5 years in a row, and it's been getting better. I suppose 2024 dipped a little bit than 2023. They had a nice positive net income in 2023. Then it kind of fell off a little bit. But quarter over quarter numbers look good. Balance sheet, debt to asset only 64%. That's good in my book. As long as debt to assets below 100%, I'm usually okay with it. Anything over 100% for debt to asset, be careful. That means they're over leveraged. They have more debt than they have asset, and that companies can run into trouble when they're over leveraged. This company is not. There's 64%. It's just fine. See how much cash and equivalents. Okay, as of September 30th, looks like Webull hasn't updated the previous earnings, but let's look at this. Cash and equivalents, 699 million as of September 30th, and it's kind of been growing quarter over quarter for the past 4 quarters. So nice and solid cash and equivalent position. Property, plant, and equipment, that's what I would call hard assets. A little over 100 million on that front. So they seem fundamentally sound company. Only thing that bothers me is they're not a U.S. company. That kind of bothers me a little bit. Let me just pull it up on TradingView and look at some bigger time frames here. This is the 1 minute chart, so don't freak out. That's not the daily. So here's daily chart. And, 2 earnings ago, they had a nice positive reaction. I mean, they were trading back here around 10, 11 bucks 2 earnings ago. That was back on, let me see, they reported on August 13th. Okay. So nice positive reaction there. Kind of sloppy price action. I'm not too surprised about the price coming down here. This is from Michael on YouTube. Not too surprised that it's down here because look at this unresolved price action. They had a gap on the daily chart just kind of waiting to be filled there. Now, sometimes these gaps don't fill quickly. Sometimes these gaps can sit there for days, for weeks, sometimes months. But typically, market makers like to move the price down there to resolve that price action. That's just what we see. So this was back in August. Fast forward to November. And it's still not all the way filled yet, is it? The bottom of that gap is 11.76. So I would not be surprised if there's more downside below 12 bucks. Probably be looking for support around there. Once that gap gets resolved, maybe some buyers step into the trade, right? So technical analysis wise, don't be surprised if it drops a little bit more to fill this gap, but that might be a level of interest or a level of demand. You just have to wait for the candles to get there and then see if it goes on to subsequently print subsequent green candles, like 2-3 daily candles in a row that are green could indicate that, hey, there's a demand here. There's buying going on at this level. And then, of course, on the smaller time frames, like 4 hour, 1 hour, you want to start, see if you can spot some higher lows printing. If you can spot some higher lows printing, then the bottom's probably in and you're probably good to go to ride it back up. Yeah, there's definitely debt. I mean, you can just pull up the, look at the debt to asset ratio. You just go to the, let's see where I find that on the balance sheet. And you can clearly see on the balance sheet, we can go to the line item. They have, 1.4 billion in assets. But as of September 30th, they have $904 million in liabilities. Okay. So long-term debt, it doesn't look like they have any long-term debt, but let's look at here. Notes payable short-term debt is 0. But debt, there's several line items when it comes to liabilities. And that's basically what the debt to asset ratio is comparing liabilities to assets. So it's not so much just the debt. A liability, there's more things that are liabilities that aren't necessarily debt. Like, look, accounts payable was $750 million. That's probably the bulk of it there. Accrued expenses, 10.8 million. Other current liabilities is 110 million there. They actually, yeah, they do have long-term debt. They got 2.5 million in total long-term debt, and that is regarding capital lease obligations. That's where that falls in under. So total debt 3.7 million. I think what's really hurting them is this accounts payable. So that it just all falls into the liability basket. So just because they don't have any short-term debt or long-term debt, as far as like regular debt goes, it doesn't mean they don't have any liabilities. And the debt to asset ratio is based off of liabilities compared to assets. So don't forget about liabilities, because that's similar to debt. Okay. So yeah, they might have sugar-coated the earnings saying, oh, we got no debt. Of course, they're not going to mention anything about the $904 million in liabilities, right? So you got to kind of read between the lines when you hear stuff like that. Definitely you want to cross-check that kind of stuff by going to the balance sheet. That's how you can read through all the BS, okay? And yeah, they got almost $1 billion in liabilities. So, you know, and if the liabilities go over the amount of debt or the amount of assets, they're over leveraged as a company, and that could be a bad thing. So I hope that maybe helps clarify a little bit. My buddy Michael on YouTube. But yeah, I'm kind of running out of time here. I do want to go over this NVIDIA trade that opened up this afternoon. Now, NVIDIA got some recent news that they're going to be able to start selling chips to China again. So that could be back on for them, which is bullish. And there was a nice V-shaped recovery in NVIDIA's price action. Let me just go back there real quick. Go intraday here. 5-minute chart's fine. But you can see that they've kind of basically been downtrending since yesterday, extended hours. I mean, yesterday's price action looked kind of solid. They had a nice move up yesterday back into the 180s, but they took a hit in after hours last night, and then they sold off a bit in pre-market. But I think this was a beautiful intraday V-shaped recovery that it had. And it's kind of coming off the heels of them being able to sell chips to China again. So I think that's bullish. Looking at the daily chart, it did print somewhat of a hammer candle at the bottom of this downtrend. That's an easy signal for reversal. Is it 100% that these hammer candles reverse the price? It's not 100%, but more times than not, if a hammer candle prints at the bottom of a downtrend, there's a good sign that this is probably demand, and that's around 170 per share. So the trade I opened up today to kind of maybe ride the wave back up on this is I did a bull put spread with the technical term is a vertical put credit spread. It's a neutral to bullish trade. It's a $2.50 wide cent spread. So you would need $250 in buying power to trade one spread on this. I usually do a handful of these, but in this particular situation, now that I think there's probably some good support on NVIDIA at 170 based on today's price action and the daily hammer it's printing today. That kind of aligns with this trade. Chance of profit according to option strat is 74%er. If you trade on Tasty Trade, they call it pop, the pop rate, which would be percentage of profit. So it's kind of the same thing. Option strat just calls it chance of profit. But it's 74% on this one. I love that. And $2.50 wide cent spread, $250 in buying power needed that your broker will tie up while the trade's open. I'm actually already green on this trade. I forgot to save it when on option strat when I actually entered it, but I actually collected $64 a spread on this and tying up $250 while the trade's open. So this was a solid 25% potential return on my capital. Okay. And this trade expires on December 5th. So I'm not married to the trade. I'm just going to take it on a date, right? Maybe it's dinner and the movie and a comedy show. And then that's it. Next Friday, this trade is over with. All right. So I'm not married to it. Just going to date it for a week and a half and pays 25% return on capital. And the only thing we need to happen on this trade for this to be a winning trade is since I collected $64 in credit on the onset of the trade, we just need it to stay above our break even at expiration, which would be $169.36 a share. as long as NVIDIA, the price of NVIDIA stays above 169.36 going into next Friday, this is going to be a winning trade. Better yet, if it stays above 170, I'll get 25% return on my capital on this trade. Okay. But I'm kind of running out of time here. I wish I could stay here all night. I've actually had back-to-back streams today, fully loaded this afternoon. I've been streaming since lunchtime. So with that said, I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. Definitely wanted to show everyone this NVIDIA trade and kind of how it works and what the thesis behind the trade is. I definitely think a nice break into the 180s for NVIDIA. And if that China deal, the news about them being able to sell chips to China again, if that goes through, NVIDIA will be back in the 200s before you know it. Not really too worried about them. And looking on the daily chart, looks like their all-time high is around 212 and some change. So there is some upside there. Probably $30, $40 in upside just to come back to all-time high. $30, $40 per share there. So we'll see what happens. They had like I said, nice V-shaped recovery today. So that was the thesis of my neutral to bullish trade that I just opened. But yeah, that's really all I got for today. Kind of ran out of time, but I do appreciate everyone. We always have a lot of fun with these earnings. Of course, this week is Thanksgiving. Okay, so the markets are closed on Thursday. I do believe Friday is a half day. So just be aware of that. And usually do these streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's actually really nothing scheduled tomorrow after the close. And there's no earnings scheduled on Friday either. So I guess companies really don't want to report earnings surrounding Thanksgiving Day. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's just nothing really to stream as far as earnings go. So we'll definitely pick up the earnings streams again next week. If you're looking for a new home, check the links in the description. You can join our Discord. I am one of the option coaches there. We do have 2 other coaches that do fantastic. There's something for everyone. I'm mainly a contract writer. So if you've ever been interested in being on the selling side of the opening transaction, that's my bread and butter. Almost all my trades are sell to open. And then, of course, when we go to take early profit, we're buying to close. So it's a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to as far as comparing it to trading naked options during the day, right? So if you're interested in maybe a little more advanced types of trading, definitely check us out. Michael Anthony, kind of running out of time here, but we can take a quick peek at wheat. WEAT. Let's take a look. I don't even this. Oh, is this like trading commodities? Like, okay, let's take a look at this. This is the wheat fund. This is how you trade wheat. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they kind of just bounced. What's the split here? They just did a 1-for-5 split. Okay. That's right. So it looks like, yeah, I mean, easy support on wheat, $20, $20 a share. That's where it bounced. It kind of looks like man, look at the price. Look at that peak on this thing. This thing was at $60 a few years ago, 3 years ago. Let's just go back in time. Yeah, it looks like, let me go monthly chart on that, or actually let's check the weekly. Whoa, I don't know if I would trade this. I just don't know how I feel about this weekly chart. Ouch. It's kind of like they're in no man's land. Like there's no historical price action to even know if there's a bottom near. Most recent bottom right here, $20 a share. I don't like it below 20. I guess that would, Russia war has hurt wheat. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I've never traded this before. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention and definitely appreciate the engagement. Maybe I'll take a closer look at that because I did see recent news that this whole Russia-Ukraine thing's probably coming to an end soon, I think. We'll see what happens. But yeah, hey, I mean, if that war goes away, maybe there's a ton of upside here with wheat. So my buddy Michael Anthony, thank you for putting my eyes on it. I'm definitely going to put it on my watch list. And as the Russia-Ukraine deal kind of, the war kind of starts going away, maybe we see a nice rebound on wheat and it could be a nice upside trade. So thanks for putting my eyes on it. I'll definitely look more into this, and maybe in my next stream I do for everyone, we'll go over it a little bit more. But I appreciate the info there on that. But yeah, other than that, let me go ahead and end the stream. It's almost 5 o'clock. If you're looking for 4 high probability trade setups emailed to your inbox every morning, check the very first link in the description. It does not cost any money. You can get those trade setups for free every morning delivered to your inbox. So if you're interested, just check the link, the very first link in the description. You can sign up for free and you get those trade setups every morning. But other than that, my name's The Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed this stream. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the very next video. Cheers.